When you start building something in Azure, one of the first things you've got to figure out is how you're going to handle traffic. Now, it sounds simple, but the way you route and balance that traffic can have a huge impact on how well your application performs and how reliable it is when something goes wrong. Now, there are two Azure services that come up all the time when we talk about managing traffic. That's Azure Load Balancer and Traffic Manager. Now, they both move traffic around, but they do it in completely different ways. So let's go through what each one does, how they work, and when it actually makes sense to use one over the other. Let's start with Azure Load Balancer. Now, think of this as your regional traffic distributor. It sits in front of your virtual machines or your VM scale sets or web apps and spreads incoming requests across them so no single instance gets overloaded. It's what's called a layer 4 load balancer, which just means it works with TCP and UDP traffic, which is the transport layer. It's fast because it's not looking at the contents of the actual packets. It's just looking at where they're coming from and where they're going to. In most cases, a load balancer lives inside a single region, but the standard SKU can balance across availability zones or even across paired regions. So it's not strictly limited to one data center anymore, but it's still mainly focused on keeping things stable and redundant within a region. Now, Traffic Manager takes a completely different approach. It doesn't sit in the data path like Load Balancer does. Instead, it's a DNS-based service. So instead of forwarding traffic itself, it basically decides where a user should connect in the first place. So here's how it works. When someone tries to reach your app, their device makes a DNS query. What Traffic Manager does is look at your routing rules and then it says, okay, this user should go to the US endpoint, or maybe this other user should go to Europe. And then it returns that address. After that, the user connects directly to that endpoint and Traffic Manager steps out of the picture completely. Now, because it operates at the DNS level, it's a perfect solution for global traffic distribution and regional failover. For example, if your deployment in the US goes down, Traffic Manager just stops giving out that endpoint in its DNS responses and instead directs new users to a healthy one somewhere else. Now, I should point out that it's not instant for everyone. This is because cached DNS entries can hang around a bit, but for new connections, the failover happens automatically. Now, if we line these two up side by side, here's the key difference. Azure Load Balancer handles the actual network traffic. It's distributing packets between VMs or instances within a region. Azure Traffic Manager never touches the traffic. It just tells the client which region or endpoint to connect to. You can think of Azure Load Balancer as managing in-region reliability and Traffic Manager as managing global availability. As you'd expect, they both have health checks built in as well. Load Balancer probes each VM or backend web app to make sure it's responding. If one fails, it immediately stops sending traffic there. Traffic Manager does something similar, but on a global scale. It monitors the health of your endpoints in each region, and if one fails, it automatically directs DNS queries elsewhere. Again, the key thing to remember is that existing connections don't switch midstream. It only affects new lookups. Now, when it comes to routing options, Traffic Manager is way more flexible. You could choose performance routing to send users to the endpoint with the lowest latency. You can use priority routing for a simple active-passive failover setup. You can use geographic routing to keep users in specific regions. Or you can even use weighted or subnet-based routing if you want more granular control. So let's look at some examples to make this a little more concrete. So you've got a website running entirely in the East US on, let's just say, VMs. You want it to stay online even if one of your VMs crashes. Now that's exactly where Azure Load Balancer shines. What it's going to do is spread incoming requests across all the multiple healthy VMs that you have. And if one goes down, users typically won't even notice. Now, on the flip side, let's say your app grows and you've got users all over the world. In this case, you'd spin up another deployment in, say, Europe, for example. This time, Traffic Manager would be the tool that you want to sit in front of both of your deployments. You do this so when someone from Germany tries to connect, Traffic Manager points them to the European instance. But if it's someone from the US, they go to the US deployment. Everyone gets the lowest latency automatically. And of course, if you want the best possible setup, you use both. Traffic Manager would sit at the global level, routing users to the nearest healthy region. Inside each region, a load balancer spreads traffic across your virtual machines in that region. This combination gives you global failover and a local high availability. So the bottom line is that if you just need to keep your app running smoothly inside a single region, use Azure Load Balancer. If you need to distribute users across the globe or handle regional outages, use Azure Traffic Manager. And if uptime is mission critical, pair them together. I hope this clears things up for you. If it did, do me a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to actually try this out yourself, head on over to labitpro.com and check out the 29-part Building Redundant Cloud Solutions Lab. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.